Hello and welcome back to the Ground Up Advanced Flight Tutorials. Thank you very much for joining me in this video. And today, we've got head tracking running, which I might be resetting a couple of times here as I haven't got this perfectly set up. If you saw my Flight Sim World video yesterday, I'm recording this after that, but I have made a few changes, and of course we are in clearer weather, so it should be easier to be able to have a look around. So you can just see I'm just testing my view at the moment. See? Few bugs. Okay, still a few bugs. Well, we'll see what we can do. Anyway, today we're going to be continuing on from the last video, which in the last video we were demonstrating some stalls. We did some power off stalls in that video after having an explanation in the video before. Today we're going to be doing some power on stalls. So in this video we might actually not be landing, but in case we are landing, again we're going to tune this to 109.35, which is where we are, Echo Golf November X-Ray, and we're on runway 9, or just runway 9, I was going to say 9, right? No, there's just one runway over here. So if you want to get yourself set up there, that's absolutely fine. We're going to put one stage of flaps down, which I should be able to now look. Yep, there's the one stage of flaps. Still not perfect, like I said. Maybe I should reduce the zoom or something, or look like that, maybe. Seems to be a little bit better. I don't know. I need to work a few things out there. Anyway, so what we're going to do today is we're going to be looking at power on stalls. So it's a little bit different. So Peter here on. That's everything on. Good. I don't know why the fuel pump comes on with the L button, but whatever. Okay, so we're going to be looking at power on stalls. So they're a little bit different from power off, and the way they differ is the speed and the way you actually end up climbing. Because if you imagine, if we look up here, you've got the propeller right there, so the airflow is going through here and then flowing along the side and onto the wing. So there's the leading edge of the wing, and on the other side we've got the leading edge of the wing right there. So it flows all the way around here, along there, and then over onto this leading edge right there. Now what happens is that because of that airflow there is accelerated, which means that the stall speed of an aircraft with power on is very different, or actually not very different, but somewhat different to the stall speed of an aircraft with power off. So we need to practice this, and we're also going to do practicing of clearing turns. Now, clearing turns is something you do in real life when you're actually flying out there and you want to practice maneuvers or practice anything. You do clearing turns. So I'm going to show you what a clearing turn is and how to perform a clearing turn, or at least one type of a clearing turn. It doesn't really I think different countries have different requirements for clearing turns, so I'm just going to show you one type of clearing turn that you can do, as well as giving you the reason why I'm doing this particular type of clearing turn. And then we're going to do the power on stall. We'll do a couple of examples of a power on stall, and everything should be fine. Now hopefully this head tracking doesn't get in my way, but that being said, I could just switch it off like that if I have to, but I feel like it might be handy for us. That's why I want to try and really get it running. I mean, that's a fairly accurate view. Okay, so let's get this show on the road. We're going to take off again. Flaps 1. We're going to accelerate at 90 knots. We're going to climb to 2,000 feet. We're going to do our how should we do this? We're going to do a right-hand circuit of the airport this time. In case we want to land back here, so we're going to do a right-hand circuit of the airport, and then we're going to do our stalls in the downwind leg of the circuit. So we're going to be turning that way instead of that way, which is where we normally go. So let's go. Ready to go. Everything's good. Slowly and smoothly power up again, as you always do, and hope that it doesn't lag. Again, got to watch the slight amount of rudder needed. Always remember the rudder. Always remember the rudder. I like to rotate at 75 knots. There's 75. Up we go. Not that much trim. That was horrible. But positive rate. Gear up. Flaps in. I must say it's difficult with head tracking on. fun, but difficult. Also, I think my controls may have reset because my trim controls are not working anymore. Yeah, I think my controls have reset again. I don't understand what happens and why Flight Sim World ends up doing this. Hopefully your simulator is not resetting its controls. There we go. Alright, we're getting somewhere now. We're definitely getting somewhere now. Right, we'll bring ourselves back to some sort of climb speed. Come on, there we go. Alright, and I think we will... Should we turn? Yeah, let's do our turn. So we're going to turn it over nice and smoothly. Maintain the lift. Yeah, it's definitely reset my controls. I can't... I do get tired of that, you know. My elevator is suddenly so much more sensitive than it should be. This is bad. Right, so we're going to turn to a heading of 180, fly along for a while. As a matter of fact, because of the clearing turn we're going to do, we're not going to fly 180, we're going to do a full turn. Let's do a full turn all the way around. Whilst continuing that climb at 90 knots. Bit more rudder. There we go. Keeping the turn nice and shallow. Watching that bank angle. And we're turning all the way to 270 now. Feeding a little bit more rudder. Just to keep that turn coordinated. Keeping the bank very nice at about 10 degrees. To 4. To 5. There's the airport. To 6. And we'll start rolling out slowly now. 265. That's alright. So you can see there's the airport down there that we just took off from. It's absolutely fine. And we'll continue climbing up to 2,000 feet. As we do. I really shouldn't have used... I'm regretting using the head tracking now. Yeah, I'm regretting using head tracking, but that's okay. I wanted to give you a better showing of what you would see if you were actually flying, but I suppose it's not the best idea right now. Alright, so we're at 2,000 feet, which is pretty good. I don't think we want to climb too much more, so I'm going to reduce the power. Let's get ourselves to 2,000 feet, and then we're going to stabilize right there. So settle back in my seat a little bit better, so you guys can actually see the nose of the aircraft. That'll kind of help. There we go, we're at 2,000 feet, or thereabouts. I'll bring that vertical speed now roughly to 0, using the trim again. Not using the elevator here. Trying to use the trim as best as we can. Right. And that is... That's pretty stable, I would say. There we go, we're pretty stable here. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to do a couple of clearing turns. So clearing turns, first of all I'm going to slow the aircraft down to about 90 knots. And then I'm going to do the clearing turns. So what a clearing turn is a clearing turn is to make sure that the airspace in which you're about to do a maneuver is clear. That's why it's called a clearing turn. It's to make sure that the area is safe to do a maneuvering. So for this we're going to actually turn 90 degrees to the left to a heading of 180, followed by a 90 degree to the right turn to 270. So that's exactly what we're going to do. There we go. Okay, at this point we turn to the left and we can have a look around. So we're looking around, everything seems clear there, looks clear there. Left hand turn is the one that we want, so let's go for the left hand turn without trying to get the aircraft to balloon. Right, going for a little bit of a sharper left-hand turn so we can get this going. There we go. We're going to head to 180. Now you can do different types of clearing turns. If you want, you could just do a big 360 loop and just continue going round and round all the way. But I feel that this one's a pretty good one to do. And we'll roll out. Oops, not quite there. This head tracking is catching me out. If you use head tracking and track IO, I know how you feel. Alright, there we go. So now we can have a look around. No aircraft on that side. So we can take a really good look around everywhere now. Everything seems clear. Everything seems clear off that wing. Everything seems clear off that wing. Alright. Oops. Let's get that reset. Ignore that noise if you hear it. That's fine. Don't need to worry about that. It's just this trying to reset itself. I need to switch that noise off. I'll do that in a minute. Now we do a turn to the right. So now we're going to turn back to the heading that we started on. So that's heading to 270. So in this fashion, we have checked pretty much all the airspace around us. Now the question is, why do you go left before right? The reason being is that aircraft, generally when you're training, an aircraft is going to pass you on the right. So what you don't want to do is you don't want to turn to the right and then end up cutting off an aircraft who's trying to pass you. So you want to turn to the left. That way the aircraft knows that you're going to do a clearing turn. The moment he sees you going to the right again, or she sees you, the pilot, going to the right, they know that you're doing a clearing turn and you're about to practice some maneuvers. Straighten back up. 270, we are good. Alright, time to do our maneuver. So on this, we're going to slow our aircraft down to start with. So we're going to slow right the way down here. And for this, I'm actually going to trim the aircraft as well. Not massively, but I'm going to trim the aircraft. And we're going to slow down to 70 knots. Yeah, it's a lot slower, I know, than we have before. In fact, no. Because we're doing power on, I'll tell you what we're going to do. Where's our RPM? Let's see RPM. Yeah, it's going to start complaining. Get ourselves back to 270. This is going to... So it's going to start complaining. We're going to ignore the complaint when it comes in. So we're just going to slow ourselves right the way down. I'm just going to keep it below that warning. And going to make sure that we can maintain our vertical speed. Now, as we slow down, as I said, the ailerons are going to lose effectiveness. So the rudder is the last one to always lose effectiveness, but you want to be careful on the rudder so that you don't end up spinning the aircraft. Too much rudder will end up spinning the aircraft. Too little rudder will also end up spinning the aircraft. So as we slow down, we are going to go into this mode where we are going to be using the rudder to hold our heading. So at this point in time, we're going to have to ignore that warning. So I want you to ignore that warning right now as we slow the aircraft down. And your aircraft may be doing a similar warning. And at this point in time, I am now using the rudder. Yes, yes, yes. Minimum ailerons now. We're using the rudder to keep us on track. Alright, so we are now pretty slow. We're almost down to 70 knots here. And we are losing height. So I'm continuously trimming. But we've still got some partial power here, as you can hear. Over the alarm. Alright, so we've now got a vertical speed that's roughly okay. We'll bring in the power a little bit now. Use the rudder to get us back onto 27. There we go. We're not using ailerons again now. We're at 70. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to push up the power and pull back on the stick now. So, there goes the power. Now watch the vertical speed increase. Right, nice and smooth, and we're about to stall. You will see the stall happen. Here comes the stall. As the speed decreases, we're using rudder, not ailerons, to maintain 270. And keep pulling back on the stick. Keep pulling back. Now at this point, we should have already stalled. Again, I'm using the rudder to get to 270, not the ailerons. The ailerons are... I'm trying to keep the ailerons as still as we possibly can. It's very difficult here, actually. I'm going to continue pulling back on the stick. Continue pulling back. There's a bit of a shake there. That's the incipient stall. It still wants to climb. There's the stall. You heard that this time. That's the stall warning kicking in. There's the stall. Now all we do to recover from it is bring the nose down. And that's a power on stall. Really that simple. So we're going to do that again. Let's do that again. And you saw we didn't move. By using the rudder, we managed to maintain 270 by using the rudder. Right, we're climbing again. We're going to hear the stall warning kick in. Keep pulling back on that stick. There's the stall. You see that vertical speed just drop? And we've maintained again. Should we do it one more time? So you can see how power on stalls are very different. Right? And if you want to have a look around, that's the angle of attack of our aircraft right now. And there's the stall. In fact, this time we almost went into spin. It was only quick recovery on the rudder and ailerons from me that managed to prevent that spin. Should we do it again? I want to show you again the angle of attack of the aircraft. There you go, and back down. In fact, this time we've gone into spin. I'll get myself out of that spin. Alright, that time we went into spin because I was trying to show you what happened. Alright. Let's get this aircraft back into a good configuration. Wow. That's a quick spin recovery. Alright, so you got a little bit of a viewing on a spin there. It's good views that we get from this head tracking kit. Alright. Should we get ourselves back to the runway? That spin wasn't planned, so let's get ourselves back to the runway, get ourselves landing once again. Oh shush. We'll speed ourselves up, we'll get ourselves into a controlled descent and get ourselves back towards the runway. Where is the runway? Out that way somewhere, I assume. Whoa, that's a different view. It's not a view I was expecting. Oh, shush. Don't know why it keeps complaining like that right now. It wasn't complaining before. Let's switch it off. Is there a button to switch it off? It's probably one of the circuit breakers. I can just switch it off. I should have done. Right, the runway is out that way. Because there's a lake. Trying to see where it is. Alright. Well, head tracking does have its uses. Let's bring ourselves down now. Never had this aircraft complain so much on me. I suppose because of the speed that we're doing, we're pretty slow. Right, we'll continue heading on 270. We probably would want to turn around. Right, come on, head tracking. No, that's not where I want you to look. There you go. Now you know where I want you to look. There you go. Now you're getting somewhere. I'm going to keep this aircraft in a descent now. 500 foot per minute. Riding on 270. We're going to actually, with all the stalling that we've been doing, I suppose we could begin our turn to a heading of 0. let the speed of the aircraft increase as you want it to. But yeah, there you go. So now I've just demonstrated power on stalls, a couple of power on stalls, and how it results in a spin if you don't watch that rudder. So I didn't watch that rudder in the last one, and that resulted in a spin. And that's why rudder control is very, very important. I have a feeling we should be okay here. Nice gentle turn as we drop below 3,000 feet. Keeping a good speed of 90 knots only. Very, very nice. Yeah, I think we should be able to land this in a couple of minutes. Alright, where's the airport then? There it is. Yep, we know where we are. Alright, we know exactly where we are now, using visual references. I think I'll level off here at 2,300. And we'll get ourselves back towards that runway. And now you know about power on and power off stalls. So that's two types of stalls you know about, and you saw a spin as well. So the reason the power on stall had the stall warning go off is because when we went into that power on stall, we went into it with a much more what's the right word for it? It was much more violent. We went into it in a much more violent fashion than we have so far. If we were to do so on power off, the same thing would happen. In fact, should I just demonstrate it here? I feel like, let me just demonstrate it here. If we were to do this, I'm going to regret this, but hey, it's a simulator and I'm trying to show you guys things. So if we were to cut that power and do this, there you go. There's the stall warning. There you go. That was a full-on power off stall for you. So the ones that we were practicing earlier, we were keeping them very gentle, incipient stalls. We weren't letting it stall. It was going into a full stall, but nothing too severe. Then right now, I just showed you there, that was a full-on stall on power off, and I've obviously demonstrated the power on stalls before. Right, runway should just be out there. In fact, I can see the runway now. Obviously I can see the I forgot what the name of that power station is. Oops. It's not Kegworth, is it? No, Kegworth is the town. I don't think it's called Kegworth Power Station. Well, I can see the runway quite clearly now. Just in the middle of this second screen here. So I can see that runway, which is absolutely fine. I knew where we were anyway. Once I got a glimpse of that power station there, and there's a little lake there, I knew exactly where we were. Which is exactly the point. That's why VFR is important, and it's also important to know VFR charts. By looking at these VFR charts, you can understand where exactly you are at any point in time. At any given point in time anyway. Right, we're a little bit low, but that's okay. We should be landing momentarily. We're 11 miles out. It's about 2-3 minutes to landing, I think. At this speed, actually, we might be a little bit more than that. Let me just think. At this speed, we're going to be doing 1.5. We're only going to be doing about 1.5 miles every minute. So realistically, that means we're going to be in 3 minutes. We're only going to have done 4.5 miles. So we're looking at about 6 minutes to landing, maybe, or 7 minutes to landing. I think we can manage that. In fact, you know what? Just because we can, let's speed up a little bit. just because we want to land this a little bit quicker. But again, now that we've practiced those stalls and everything, and we know about slow speed flight, we can land this aircraft nice and slow and understand what the aircraft is going to be doing. So that's something we're going to do once again in this. So another practice here, stall avoidance in a sense. Alright, getting a nice look here at where we are, maintaining 1,500 feet at this point in time, or thereabouts, and just over 90 knots is our speed. It's absolutely fine. So we're going to land with some flaps. I haven't shown you things like departure stalls and approach stalls, so we'll do that in the next video if we get around to it, or I might just end up doing another solo flight and we'll come back to departure and approach stalls at another time. I mean, we've spent what, 4 weeks now on stalls, or 3 weeks on stalls. It's quite a lot of time on stalls, but of course stalls are very important, so it is important to know what goes on. Again, just to remind you guys, a stall is not speed is not a factor in a wing stalling. Speed is a factor in running out of lift, not in a wing stalling. A wing will not stall it can stall at high speed and low speed, it doesn't matter. So you could be doing any speed and a wing will stall. It depends on the angle of attack, and once that goes to 0, your lift, it just goes out the window. And again, if you want to know more on this, do check out my Patreon scheme, and the $5 reward gives you access to the Flight Sim Tutorials channel on the Discord server, where you can ask me all sorts of questions on this sort of topic, and I can show you all the equations and everything like that very, very easily. So let's get this aircraft landed once again at East Midlands. I must say that spin slightly freaked me out because I thought I was going to end up crashing the aircraft. Even though I have practiced spins before, I've only spun an aircraft once, and I thought I was going to crash the aircraft and I would have lost that footage and had to start again, which I always hate doing. I hate starting again. It just takes a lot of time and effort, and I mean a lot of time and effort. Right, we're getting pretty close to the runway, as you can see the runway right there. I will be dropping the landing gear as soon as we start getting onto this onto the glide slope, which we're about to intercept the glide very, very shortly. I believe the needle has started moving in a slight fashion. The localizer is also alive, so we've got that. Good. Just gonna keep ourselves flying like this, lining up with the localizer as best as we can. But at this point we can also go, as you said, we can go visual. There it goes. And at this point we will drop the landing gear and one stage of flaps. Start bringing this aircraft down and slowed. Lovely. And we'll just trim it in. Of course, this is another time where you can end up stalling an aircraft, so you've got to be careful here. But I think we are doing just fine here at 90 knots. Just waiting for that's 2 whites and 2 reds. Just waiting for the ILS or the localizer, just get ourselves back onto the localizer. Just waiting to intercept the glide slope a little bit better than we currently are. I'll drop the throttles a little bit more, slow the aircraft down further, increase our rate of descent. Although I don't want to increase the rate of descent, I just realized I want to reduce the rate of descent. But I will slow the aircraft down, so I'll use a little bit of trim right there to reduce the rate of descent but slow the aircraft down at the same time, in combination with the throttles, and that brings our lights back to where we want them. Doesn't seem to be any crosswinds today, only the standard buffeting from the aircraft. Bring in another stage of flaps. This is something you should practice as well. And like I said, as we slow down, the rudder becomes more effective, the ailerons become less effective. So now we just ease the aircraft into where we need it to be. Lift that nose ever so slightly as we slow the aircraft down. We're at 80 knots. I like that as a landing speed. We are slightly low, but that's okay. It's very easy to compensate for that, especially at this sort of altitude and in this sort of aircraft. It's perfectly fine. There we go. Let's bring the aircraft down very, very nicely onto the runway. And we are down, in fact, pretty much on the center line. Brake there, bring the flaps up so that we don't have any undue lift. There we go, and we will take a taxiway mic right here. Just brake here and take taxiway mic. Fantastic. Thank you very much for watching. Please remember to hit the like button if you like this video, subscribe to the channel for more videos on the ground up advanced flight tutorials. Leave a comment in the comments box below letting me know what you think. I still have some work to do on head tracking, but hopefully you guys have a better understanding of stalls now. We'll do a little bit more work on it. Of course, there is still more to stalls than I have explained, and it's all about practice. If you don't practice, then you'll never really learn too much, so make sure you guys get some practice. Next lesson, I don't know what we're going to do. Let me just kill that head tracking right now. There we go. That's fine. So I'm not sure what we're going to do in the next lesson, but hopefully it'll be a good one. Last but not least, like I said, do support me on Patreon. Link to that is in the description box below. Your support would be massively appreciated. It will help me out a huge amount. And like I said, also the $5 reward does give you access to my Discord servers, Flight Sim Tutorials channel, so you can check it out there. But if you just want access to the Discord server, just $1 and it's you've got the access, and there's a nice little community there. People like talking about stuff, aircraft, trains, all sorts of stuff, different games, racing games, whatever. It's pretty nice there, and you get to see obviously what I'm planning next for this channel. Thank you very much for watching once again, and I will see you guys next time in the ground up advanced flight tutorials.